Stop what you're doing and count to 20 out loud right now. Seriously, do it. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 20. Done? Congratulations. You just hit the exact moment when people stop listening to you. 20 seconds is the scientifically proven limit before your listener's brain starts looking for the exit, and 5% of the population physically cannot stop talking past that point because their brains are wired differently. They're called clinical talkaholics. It's a real diagnosis, and I'm about to give you a test that reveals if you're one of them. But here's what nobody tells you. If you can't figure out who the talkaholic is in your friend group, statistically speaking, it's you. 1 in 20 people qualifies, so do the math. And before you click away thinking not me, I need you to hear the most disturbing part. 95% of diagnosed talkaholics know they talk too much. They're fully aware it's a problem, and they literally cannot stop themselves from doing it anyway. Their dopamine system has hijacked their mouth, and they're just along for the ride. Okay, pause this video right now because we're doing this test together. I'm going to give you 5 statements, and you're going to count how many are true for you. Be honest, nobody's watching. Ready? 1. People have told you that you talk too much, or you've noticed them checking their phones while you're mid-story. 2. You frequently interrupt people because the thought in your head feels too important to wait. 3. Silence makes you genuinely uncomfortable, and you feel compelled to fill every quiet moment with words. 4. You've started telling a story, realized halfway through that nobody cares, and kept going anyway because stopping felt impossible. 5. After social interactions, you replay what you said and cringe at how much you dominated the conversation. But the next time you do it again, count them up. If you said yes to 3 or more, I have news that'll either relieve you or devastate you. You're likely in that 5%, and there's actual neuroscience explaining why your brain works this way. If you said yes to 4 or 5, your brain is functionally different from most people's, and we need to talk about what's happening up there. Back in 1993, 2 researchers finally snapped. James McCroskey and Virginia Richmond were probably trapped in the world's longest faculty meeting when they created the Talkaholic Scale to scientifically measure who talks too damn much. They tested 811 college students, found 5.2% qualified as talkaholics, then tested New Zealand to confirm it wasn't just Americans, got 4.7%, and realized this is universal. 1 in 20 people everywhere. The scale has 92% accuracy, better than most personality tests on Instagram. Score 40 or above, and you're not chatty, you're clinically compulsive. Here's what makes it uncomfortable. True talkaholics show 7 specific behaviors. They dominate every conversation, talk way more than normal, stay less inhibited than everyone around them, and this is the part that makes people scream. They rarely stay quiet even when they know they absolutely should. They reject attempts to change, lack awareness, they're monopolizing conversations, and overtalk everywhere. Weddings, funerals, job interviews, doesn't matter. Never shy, not once, in any situation. Want to know what's actually happening in a talkaholic's brain? They're getting high every time they speak, and I'm not exaggerating. Scientists used PET scans and discovered that dopamine floods a specific brain region during every sentence you produce. The same chemical released when you eat chocolate, have sex, or do cocaine. Anne Noel Samaha, a neuroscientist at the University of Montreal, explained these mechanisms evolved to pull us toward survival essentials, like water, safety, and social contact. Your brain cannot distinguish between talking and staying alive, which explains why some people treat conversation like oxygen and silence like suffocation. Every chat triggers dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins simultaneously. This neurochemical cocktail feels incredible, and unpredictability makes it addictive. New people, unexpected responses, dopamine spikes higher, and certain brains hit that button thinking yes, more, never stop. At that point, it's not willpower or politeness, it's neurochemistry running the show. The more you talk, the more dopamine you get, the more you crave talking. It's a feedback loop functionally identical to addiction. Talkaholics are chasing a high, and every conversation is another hit. ADHD turns your mouth into a broken fire hydrant spraying words everywhere. The gap between thinking something and saying it doesn't exist. Racing thoughts, zero impulse control, everything comes out immediately. People with ADHD hate silence so intensely that filling gaps with words feels mandatory for survival. A study of 99 children found hyperactive kids talk so much it destroyed their friendships and tanked their learning. The teacher would be mid-sentence and these kids physically couldn't stop blurting out whatever entered their heads. They interrupt constantly, talk excessively during movies or funerals, and can't help it. Bipolar disorder during mania creates something doctors call pressured speech. Imagine someone talking so fast that interrupting becomes physically impossible, like merging onto a highway with zero gaps. Words explode out loud, intrusive, completely unconcerned with whether anyone else wants to speak. The performance includes jokes, puns, random tangents, singing, theatrical gestures, and topic changes so fast your brain gives up following. Here's what's shocking. 1 in 13 adults with ADHD also has bipolar. 1 in 6 with bipolar has ADHD, and a Danish study of 2.4 million people found bipolar was 11 times more likely with prior ADHD diagnosis. 10% of ADHD kids eventually develop bipolar. You might be watching both conditions create a talking superstorm. This one breaks my heart because it's not brain chemistry, it's crushing loneliness. 30% of American adults feel lonely weekly. 10% feel lonely every single day. And when you're socially isolated and starving for connection, you overcompensate the second someone gives you attention. That coworker who corners you at the coffee machine and unloads about their entire weekend, they might not have spoken to another human since Friday at 5 p.m. You're not dealing with someone inconsiderate. You're dealing with someone drowning who just grabbed a life raft, and the life raft is your face. U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy called loneliness a national epidemic in 2023 because it's linked to cardiovascular disease, dementia, stroke, and premature death. Loneliness kills people faster than obesity, and that person talking your ear off might be fighting for survival the only way they know how. Here's something that'll change how you listen forever. Research shows you get 20 seconds before people mentally check out. First 20 seconds is green light, listener engaged and tracking. Past that, interest drops faster than my motivation to meal prep. Most people max out around 60 seconds before their brain screams for an exit. Count to 20 right now. 1, 2, 3. All the way to 20. That's your window. Past that point, you're probably losing them and don't even know it. Here's the twisted part that makes everything worse. American culture loves talkers. Research found talkativeness is seen as attractive. People who talk more get viewed as better leaders and more competent, and society rewards this behavior with promotions and influence. We've created a system where talking excessively pays off right until it doesn't, and by then you've lost half your friends. A 2006 workplace study found compulsive talkers ignore every cue to stop, murder productivity, and create frustration that builds in coworker like a shaken soda bottle. Friends make excuses to avoid hangouts. Relationships crater when one person monopolizes everything, and the isolation that results leaves people with zero support. The vicious cycle. Isolation increases desperate need to talk, which drives more people away, which creates more isolation. It's a conversational death spiral. So what do you do when trapped? Research found the simplest solution. Go completely silent. Not polite nodding. Actual unusual quietness signals we're done here. Better than any fake emergency ever could. For talkaholics trying to manage themselves, use this acronym WAIT. Why am I talking? Pause mid-sentence and ask yourself that. Are you adding value or chasing dopamine? Are they engaged or performing engagement while writing their grocery list mentally? If you've talked 3 minutes straight without asking a question, that's your sign. Treatment exists. Cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, medications for underlying conditions, mindfulness practices, legitimate paths forward. Here's what you need to hear. 95% of diagnosed talkaholics know they talk too much. They see eyes glaze over, notice friends making excuses, replay conversations and cringe, and still cannot stop next time. It's not ignorance or rudeness. It's brain chemistry, mental health, crushing loneliness, or wiring that makes silence feel like suffocation. 5% of people you know fight this battle daily, and culture rewards them with leadership roles while simultaneously punishing them with isolation. Next time someone won't let go of a conversation, remember their dopamine might be throwing a rave. They could be managing ADHD or bipolar, or maybe you're the first person who's made eye contact with them in days. What looks selfish often has roots in neuroscience or pain. If you made it here without skipping, you're definitely not a talkaholic because you just spent 8 minutes listening. Unless you talked over this entire video, in which case, buddy, we both know what that means. Drop a comment right now. How many of those 5 questions did you say yes to? Be honest, and tag someone who needs to watch this. We both know who they are. If nobody tags you, congratulations. If 3 people tag you, I'm sorry, but you're the 5%, and we love you anyway. Now excuse me while I apologize to everyone I've cornered at parties, and maybe sit in silence for 5 minutes without filling it with words.